بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
So now here we'll try to see multiple things here. So initially I'm going to start with setting up the GNS3 server, which means we will be installing the server. Now this is something I'm going to do with GNS3. Of course, you can do this on EVNG as well. If you refer the documentation and other videos, you also find those things. Now here I'm going to do the same thing on the GNS3 where we are going to use one server operating system, the Windows machine. Now this Windows machine will be doing multiple job roles like this will be responsible for GUI access, which means I will be doing all the management from the vManager. Like in my case here. So in my case, if you want to manage your device, I will be using, now in this case, I'll be using this PC, and this PC will be acting as the GUI for managing the vManager here. Not only that, it is also going to act as my CS server. Now, this is going to act as a CS server as well. So it is doing multiple job roles, acting as a GUI interface. For the GUI, you can run any normal machine, the Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10 operating systems. But whereas for the CS server, we'll be using the server operating system. So I'm going to combine these two features in the same device. And not only that, it is also going to connect your both the network interfaces. So we got the transport VPN and the management VPN. So we'll be connecting two interfaces for that. So which means here you can see this is my VPN 0, this interface, which is a transport VPN, and the other one is VPN 512 management VPN, and I'm going to connect one more interface to the internet. So one more internet because maybe I want to download some of the files from the internet, like WinSCP software we'll be using for downloading some tools. And for that, we may require internet normally. But whereas normally for the lab topology, you don't really need internet here. So now, if you want to set up these things in the GNS3, again, the PC, we have two different options. Now, whenever you want to set up the PC inside the GNS3, we can either use inside the VMware and connect that to the GNS3 topology. That is one option, which is something I'm going to cover up here. That is one option. And the other option is you can also use the PC appliance file. So the GNS3 appliance file, that is another option we can also use. So we'll try to see both the options normally, how exactly you do that inside the GNS3, where you can simulate this PC. Now this PC again can be, either, it can be any of the Windows operating system, whether it is a server operating system or whether it is a client operating system. So again, in this setup, I'm going to do it with the SD-WAN labs. But again, if you're using any SVPN codes where remote VPNs, if you're using any remote VPN clients, or if you are using any Cisco ICE codes, probably in that you need some PCs to be used. So basically, the same concept will be applicable in anywhere, wherever we are using the PCs inside the GNS3. So, but again, as I said, this is something I'm going to record during the SD-WAN class. So I'm going to show you that inside the SD-WAN, but whereas if any other courses or if any other topologies, wherever you have this kind of requirement, you need some Windows machine inside the GNS3 topology and how you're going to connect that. So here I'm going to show you this option first, which is something more stable option, I can say, which is something I normally prefer. We can also use the appliance option, which is the second option. We'll see that probably a little bit later. I'll show you that option as well. Now, the first thing you need to do is you need to go back to your server and make sure that you download the Windows image. Now, you need to have that ISO image normally. That's something you need to have. If you go back here, you can see these are some of the links. Now, from these links, you can download any of the Windows operating systems. So either you can download this VHD edition or the ISO edition. You can run any Windows 2008, 2012, 16, whatever the Windows operating system you want, you can use. Now, the same thing applicable for the Windows machine, Windows 7, Windows 8 images. So make sure that you have these image formats, the ISO image format, which I generally prefer, or you can also use this VHD format as well. So probably these things you can just go back and search and download from the Windows website, or even you can download from any other websites. It depends on the options. Like here you can see this is the URL which I'm using here for downloading this Windows 2012 operating system, where it will redirect to the Windows website. From there you can download. Okay, so if you have any kind of ISO image, even if you have a valid operating system, you can also convert that to the ISO image, similar to bootable image kind. You can do this. So I do have this already downloaded here. If I go back to my folder, this is the place where I have already downloaded this operating system. And you can see it's a kind of an ISO format image, around 4 GB. You can download these things. Now, once you download this, we go to the VMware. VMware, we already have this installation. So we'll go and click on new virtual machine, typical, next. And I'm going to select and browse this image from here, whichever the image which I downloaded. So which means whenever it loads the operating system, it is going to load with that image, and it starts installing the operating system in that. Click on next, and you can give some name, and you can browse and select where you want to save. Definitely, I don't want to save it in my C drive. So I want to save it in a separate folder in another drive where you have enough space. And you can see, please enter the path. So I need to create a little bit a different name because that folder already exists. So it uses 60 GB of this. I think that will be sufficient to run this. You can just add additional space if you want. Click on next. And you can click on this customize hardware, where you need to add any other additional hardware. Like I require 3 interfaces. So which means I can quickly add the network adapter. And also I can add one more network adapter, which connects to internet. So I can quickly add that. Now the first network adapter, I will be using it as a bridged, which is going to connect to the internet. I think that should work. And the second network adapter I'm going to use for the custom interface like VMnet 1. And the second network adapter I'll be using the custom, which is using VMnet 2. Now, because these VMnet interfaces I'll be using at the time of, if you go back to the network settings, now here you can find some of these network adapters. Like here you can see this VMnet 1 and the VMnet 2. I'm going to enable these things. Now, this is my VMnet 1, I think. I'm going to enable these NIC cards. Now, these are the NIC cards which comes automatically on your VMware once you install, or you can also add it from the other side. Even there is a way you can do it. So where you can go and manage. Now, there is an option where you can customize or add those interfaces. So you can go to the settings, not the settings. So you have the option to add the multiple NIC interfaces. Yeah, from here, from edit, you can go to virtual network adapter, this one. Yeah, and here you can just add interfaces, like you can just add additional NIC cards. Now, in my case, I need 3 NIC cards which are already added, so I'm not going to use. And you can also decide the IPs and all these things. We'll do it later, but a little bit later. Now, once you do this, again, you can see once you start, it immediately prompts to the Windows installation process, where it's going to. Now, from here, it's the same like installing the Windows operating system or any operating system. You just click on install and select the operating system, and it will start the installation process. Now, this will take some time, depends upon the hardware, same like operating system. You can select which edition you want to use, depending upon the version which I'm installing. So I'm using the standard evaluation edition. I think that will be sufficient for me. I don't need high-end, because here I'm be using for normal server related. So if you're using any Windows related task, let's say any Active Directory additional things, you can also do that. So install the Windows only. I'm going to install the Windows only on this drive. I think that will be okay, 60 GB. Click on next. And from here onwards, it's same like your installation of your operating system. So we'll just quickly pause these things. and wait for this process to go ahead and finish off. And again, you know the installation of the operating system, normally it's the same process. So I'm going to pause here and then we'll come back once this process is done. So meantime, the installation process will go on. So what I'll do is I'll try to show you how to set up this inside the topology. Now, as you can see, I'm using this SD-WAN lab. Now make sure that you have this GNS3 VM running in the backend, same like other images. So I'll be opening up my SD-WAN topology. So whatever the topology, if you're using this on the remote VPN or any topology, just load the topology. And once you load the topology, you should see those devices will be available there. And as per my topology here, I'm going to connect one Windows machine. Now, if you want to connect the Windows machine, you can connect directly from here. You need to simulate this cloud. That's a kind of cloud, you can say. Drag and drop that. You can change the symbol if you want, because it doesn't look like this. You can go to configure and you can even change the settings here. Now here we need to decide this particular cloud is going to use what are the interfaces. So you will see some of the default interfaces I'm going to delete. And as per my topology here, if you go back to my topology, we need 3 interfaces. And here I'll be using the VMnet 1, 0, and then VMnet 1, VMnet 2. So I have to decide those interfaces as per my settings, which means I need to go back to my server VM. And if I quickly go to the settings here, and in the settings, if you remember, we added multiple NIC cards. And in this one network adapter, which is going to be bridged, I'm going to use that. And the second network adapter, I'll be using the VMnet interfaces, like VMnet 1 and the VMnet 2. I think, let me use this way. The order way, network adapter, this is going to be a bridge, which is going to automatically connect to your physical LAN, that is your internet. And then these are the 2 interfaces which I'm using for my management purposes. So which means now these are the 3 interfaces what I'm going to use. So we need to associate these 3 interfaces here. I need to click on add this host one. As you can see, this is the host one. And then I'm going to add this Ethernet interface. So the user password feature. So let's come back to this one. Must be changed before. So I'm going to set up the new password. Let's say Cisco @123, Cisco @123. So capital C, the password has been changed. Make sure that you note down the password so that next time when you log in or use this machine, it won't take much time. So that's how it is. Okay, so this is a little bit taking some time for the booting process. So let me come back to this. NIC interfaces here. Now, in this case, NIC interfaces, we need to make sure that we have enabled these interfaces. VMnet 1, VMnet 2. Now, this is actually VMnet 1. I have renamed it as host 1 and host 2. You can also rename it for easy identification part. And then this is the Ethernet, which is connecting to the internet. So Ethernet 2 is the interface connecting to the internet. So I'm going to add this Ethernet 2, and I don't see any other interfaces. So I'm also able to see this VMnet 2. When you tick this option, I'm going to add this. So which means this virtual cloud is going to have these three interfaces connected. One is the VMnet 1, and the other one is the physical internet, and then the other one is VMnet 2. So I'm going to connect these interfaces. Let's say one interface goes and connects this side, and another interface Ethernet 2, not Ethernet 2. I have to connect the VMnet adapter 2 connects on this side. So accordingly, I will assign the IP addresses on those interfaces. So this is how it looks. You can even change the symbol. You don't want to see it as a cloud, then you can even change the symbol where I can show up as a server. You can say like server, just show me as a server. So change the symbol. You can just select the server and then apply this. So this is how it looks. So basically it is going to connect this cloud. You can say like Windows Server 2002. You can just rename this one. And then you have this host one connecting on this side, VMnet connecting on the other side. Now that's how it looks. Now to manage this, you will be going out into the VM here. So this is the place where we'll be doing the settings and all. I think I already have another one. I don't think that's required because this is something I already did previously. I just need to remove this because I did not install that to avoid the confusion. So this is my Windows machine here. Okay, so now you can see the Windows login. I just restarted this one. That's what I did. Now from here, restart the guest. And I should be able to send out the Control-Alt-Delete from here. So sending Control-Alt-Delete. Here you can see right-click, send Control-Alt-Delete. And the password is Cisco@123, which is something I have set for the administrator. So now you can see the option actually when we install, we have selected the first option, the server core. It has to be server with a GUI because it was not getting a GUI because of that reason. So I have just removed the VM and I just restarted the same. But this time I'm selecting this, installing the Windows. Again, is the same option. Again, we'll wait for this. So now I can see it is asking for the password because of the changes what I did. So I'm using Cisco 123. Click finish. Now I'm getting the GUI settings. So we can send out Control-Alt-Delete to be able to log in to my Windows machine. And I should be able to see the GUI options here. Okay. So now you can see this is my operating system. So this is how you do it. So this is one way of installing the operating system inside the VMware. And later on, we can connect this to the GNS3. Okay. Now let's try to see how exactly we can connect this operating system to our GNS3 topology here. So we'll continue the same part. As if you go back to the settings, now the first thing you need to figure out how many number of interfaces you require. So I need 3 interfaces here normally. And according to those interfaces, we need to go ahead and manage the same. So I'll go back to my VMware and we go back to the settings. And from the settings here, we need to decide the number of interfaces you want. So we can change the RAM. RAM, if you have good RAM, you can set it to 4 GB. That's something you can do. If you have multiprocessor, you can set that. One of the interface connects to my internet and the other 2 interfaces, VMnet 1 and the VMnet 2, or the virtual interfaces which are being associated with my NIC. So I'm going to assign the IPs here. This is VMnet 1 and this is VMnet 2 interfaces. Now what I have to do, once you set these things, it is going to reset the machine, go back to my GNS3 and add the cloud like we did already this part. We need to add the cloud and then we configure, make sure that you add these 3 interfaces, select the stick option to be able to see and then connect this one. Now, once you do the connectivity, so I can quickly go ahead and start these devices. Like, let me start the switch. I'll start the switches and I'll also verify the reachability. So we'll start the vManager or any of the device and we'll try to verify the reachability part here. Now, in terms of reachability, we need to assign the interfaces with IPs. So whatever the network or whatever the subnet we are using, we need to assign as per that. Like as per my topology, I'll be using 192.168.10.network here. Yeah, that's the subnet. And I'll be using here 192.168.100.subnet here. So which means this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and I'll be using the 5 here, 5 here. So these will be the IP addresses what I'm going to use. Right. So this is something what we have configured. on this side, 10 and 100. So I'll be using 192.168.10.5 and this one. And the third interface will be getting the IP dynamically from the DHCP for my internet. So we need to set those things. So we'll go back to the network settings, and here we need to adjust the IP addresses as what we decided. Now we either we adjust here or we adjust inside the VM. So if you go back to the VM, my server VM, and here you can see the server manageable dashboard. This we can close as of now. If you go back to this network settings, and if you go into the VMware setting, now you can see there are three interfaces here. Now, one of the first interface is the interface which is connecting to the internet, the physical interface Ethernet 2, this one, which is getting the IP, same IP as what I have on my network, means for internet access. So which means with this IP, because this is the setting what we did, if you go back, because these settings are important, especially when you are setting up. Like here you can see, make sure that you select this bridge option. With this, I should be able to access the internet. So if I go back to and open up Internet Explorer, I think that's the only browser we have right now. And I can just go ahead and try if I can access or open up any of the internet websites. As this is a server operating system, so there is a lot of restrictions you will be having. Because it's a server operating system, you need to make sure that you add those exceptions. Now here you can just switch to Google Chrome if you want to download, and you can see the main thing you can see, I'm able to access the internet, so you can download any of the. But again, the security settings and all will be there. Accept, install your current security settings. So we need to change the security settings to be able to download few of the things. Okay. But anyway, the main thing we need to, because it's a server operating system, you have these restrictions. Now, if we check the other two interfaces, I'll not be using any DHCP because I don't have that. So I'll be giving the manual IP where it will be 192. So as for my topology, this is 192.168.10.5. And the gateway is, let's say, 110. We don't have any gateway here as of now. We can just leave this one. And for this one as well, as of now, we don't have any gateway. We will be using those gateways a little bit later. So I'll be using 192.168.100.5. That will be the IP address on the right side interface. So these things you can verify as per my topology on the left side and the right side. These are the interfaces. And if I go back to my server and get back to my GNS3 topology, and you can see we have already started these devices, we can start and check the reachability as well. So if I go back to my PC and if you go to the command prompt, CMD, and try to verify, I'll try to pin this to the taskbar. And then we'll try to verify the IP address to my vManager. I should be able to reach out if it has finished the booting process. Now, again, here we need to see there is an option we can use like /source. And the source address is 192.168.10.5. So I must be getting a reply if everything is okay. So we'll try to verify the IP to 10.2. 10.2 is the next device. So let's quickly verify these devices are ready or not. Because if I have done the initial configuration, then these devices will be ready. Because I'm not sure whether the initial configuration is already done and saved here. So these are my other devices. So it can be a switch as well, or I can go to my switch or router and I can assign the IP address to the interface itself. So if you say show VLAN switch, So by default, they are all in the VLAN 1. So I'm going to assign the IP on the VLAN 1. Let's say the IP address is going to be 192.168.10 dot, let's say 10.10. And from here, I should be able to reach out. If everything is okay, I should be able to reach out the vManager device. That's a reachability. And I should be able to reach out the second device, that is vSmart. And as well as I should be able to reach out the third device. I think that's not configured. Let's see that. So 10.5 also should be able to reach in my case. So if not, we'll see. So I'm able to reach out these two devices, but not reachability to these devices. Because they're in the VLAN 1, I can assign the IP address to the VLAN 1 and verify the reachability here. That's something I'm trying to do. And my requirement is we need to make sure that these are properly connected. So if you check the server device, it connects on the switch 1. So let me try to reconnect these things. F1 by 4, F1 by make sure that you also have these VMnet interfaces, because if this is on a different subnet, then also the reachability issues will be there. So I'm going to simply use the same subnet here, maybe 10.6 here. I think that will be fine. You can see the 10.6 is working here. So whatever the IP you assign, basically this IP is going to work. 10.6, that's an IP here. Of course, I can change it to 10.5 if I want, just to be on the same. I don't think there will be a conflict here. So let me just give 10.5 here on the NSC. So whatever the IP you give here, that's going to be applicable. Normally, that's going to work. So we don't have 6, so I'm having 10.5 here. So we need to make sure that we do have reachability from to 10.5, that is on your subnet. And likewise, I'll go and change the IP on the VMnet 2 as well. It's going to be 100.5. So you can see there is a different IP subnet here. So 192.168, 100.5. That will be the IP address on the right side. So we still have some reachability issues from here. We'll do that testing a little bit later. As of now, I'm going to connect this VMnet 1 interface going on this side, and we'll go to the switch 2 and we'll assign one IP and to verify this. So I'm going to assign one IP to the VLAN 1 because it's in the VLAN 1. So I'll say IP address as the same subnet 100.10. And then we'll say like, we'll try to verify that I should be able to reach out 192.168. 100.1. 100.1 is the first device, the vManager here. This is 100.1. And 100.2 is the second device from top, which is a vSmart, the second device. 100.3, I think the third device is having some issue. We'll see that a little bit later. I think now it's working. And also 100.5 is the device which is connecting to this one. You can see the IPs. So I think we don't need to assign any IPs on the inside the server side, but still you can just give the same IP to make sure that it's working fine. Now this way you can set up the server, and now what we'll do is we'll be using this server for two things. One is from this server, I'll be doing both the GUI option. So I'll be doing both the GUI option, which means I will be managing from here So the same PC I'll be using for managing the GUI interface, as well as this also will be acting as a server. So it depends on how we are going to use, but that's how we can connect a server to your topology, and then you can start using it.